There is a kind of exhaustion that is not physical. It is spiritual. You lie in bed, your limbs are fully relaxed. The night outside your window is completely still. But inside your mind it feels like an engine that never stops, roaring, turning. Thoughts rush in like a tide. You do not know where they come from, and you do not know where you think about your coworker today and why they got praised by the boss again. You think about that picture of a luxury car and a vacation on your social media feed. You think about the couple at the next table and why they look so incredibly happy, and then you look at yourself. You wonder why something feels wrong, but you just cannot put it into words. This feeling is called mental. It is one of the most common spiritual illnesses of our time. It does not have a clear temperature like a fever. It does not have a visible wound like a broken bone. It is just a dull, ever-present heaviness. It feels like there is an old warehouse living inside your heart, piled high with all kinds of clutter. The judgments of others, your own regrets about the past, anxieties about the future, and the most exhausting thing of all, that invisible ruler of comparison that is always quietly measuring your worth. We live in an era of endless comparison. Every single day, social media algorithms carefully select the most enviable images and push them right to your screen. The most expensive bags, the most glamorous vacations, the sweetest partners, the most prestigious jobs. Even if there is unseen pain and struggle hiding behind those images, what you receive is always that perfectly polished surface. And day after day, your brain painfully compares your real messy life against those polished surfaces. You tell yourself, if I just had a little more money, I would feel secure. If my title was just a little higher, I would be respected. If someone loved me just a little more, then I would finally feel worthy of love. But when you actually make a little more money, when you finally get that promotion, when you get more attention, that feeling of security vanishes again. Because the very second you think you have caught up, your eyes have already moved on to someone else further ahead. Buddhism calls this state samsara. It is not just the cycle of life and death. It is a psychological cycle. Greed, anger, and ignorance spinning endlessly. One thought dies, and another immediately takes its place. But in reality, we are just running faster and faster on the treadmill of desire, staying in the exact same spot right here. 1,300 years ago, a young woodcutter stepped into our view. He would later shape the history of Zen Buddhism. He was the sixth patriarch, Huineng. He had no wealthy background. He had no formal education. But he possessed the most precious quality of the human soul. He was willing to be completely honest with himself. One of the most profound teachings Huineng left us is about letting go. But his version of letting go is not the decluttering trend we hear about today. It is not about throwing away boxes of old stuff or clearing out a third of your closet. His letting go points to a much deeper, more hidden and fundamental place. To cut off means to cut off the comparing mind. To abandon means to abandon the obsession with superiority. To leave means to break completely free from the prison of needing to be better than someone else. Because Huineng tells us that true confidence and purity do not need to be proven by defeating others. You are already complete. You are already light. You have just spent so much time measuring yourself with other people's rulers that you have forgotten this truth. In the Buddhist worldview, there is a concept called root afflictions. These are the negative mental states deeply embedded in our minds, the hardest to notice and the hardest to pull out. Buddhism identifies 6: greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, doubt, and false views. And among these there is one that takes the most courage to even admit. Jealousy. In Buddhist psychology, Jealousy is born directly from anger and resentment. Its definition is crystal clear. When you see someone else gain honor or benefit, and your heart feels unhappy, unwilling, and resentful, that subtle but powerful mental activity is jealousy. Notice the word subtle. Jealousy rarely shows up with a monster's face. It will not say to you, "I am jealous." Instead, it wears disguises. It will say, "Oh, they just got lucky." It will say, "It is not a big deal. They just knew the right people." It will say, "Their success was built on stepping over others." These voices sound like objective analysis. They sound like clear observations. But if you sit quietly and look inward, you will find a hidden bitterness behind those words. A dark emotion whispering, "Why them and not me?" Comparison is the root of jealousy. Why do we get jealous? Because we place our lives side by side with someone else's, and we feel like we are losing. This feeling of losing lights a fire inside. If left unchecked, it burns into a raging inferno. There is a Buddhist saying, "The environment is created by the mind. The outer world is neutral. It is our mind that paints it with different colors." Two people can watch a friend get a promotion. One feels genuine joy for them. The other feels a sudden, sharp sting in their heart. The outer event is exactly the same. The inner reaction is completely different. And the only difference is the presence of jealousy. The destructive power of jealousy is far greater than we imagine. First, it steals your chance to see yourself clearly. When all your attention is focused on others, comparing their wins and losses, your most valuable resource, your attention is entirely consumed. Spending your attention on others means you have absolutely no time or energy to truly know yourself, develop yourself, and build your own life. You invest massive mental capital and get zero return. Second, it drags you into the abyss of revenge. When jealousy grows, it breeds an even darker thought. If I cannot have it, I want to make sure they lose it too. This leads to taking pleasure in others' misfortune. Every time a malicious thought rises, it leaves a dark mark on your consciousness, building heavy karmic debt over time. Third, it turns you into someone who gives up on life. This is the core mechanism of mental burnout. When jealousy ferments, you start doubting everything you do, you think. What is the point of trying? They just have better luck. The world is totally unfair. Buddhism calls this a false view. It acts like a giant boulder crushing your chest. You lose your drive, you lose your hope, you sink into a deep mental exhaustion where you cannot get anything done and you cannot feel any joy. The famous Buddhist master Sheng Yen once received a highly prestigious charity award in Taiwan, but his acceptance speech shocked everyone in the room. He said this award did not belong to him personally. It belonged to everyone who had supported his work. He said that if the honor had to be placed on him alone, he would only feel ashamed because his individual efforts were far from enough. This was not fake humility. It was the absolute truth spoken from a place of selflessness. Master Sheng Yen deeply understood that honor is the result of countless causes and conditions coming together. It is never created by one person. By returning the credit to the universe and to the people, he left no room for jealousy to grow. When you remove the ego from the equation of success, jealousy loses its target. Jealousy has never done anyone any good. It drains your mental energy at a terrifying speed. It dulls your inner light and covers your inherent wisdom. The Buddha said in the Dhammapada that anger and jealousy burn up your accumulated good karma like a wildfire tearing through a dry forest. Your inner garden, cultivated over years, can be turned to ash in a single moment of bitter envy. This is not a threat. It is simply the law of cause and effect playing out in your mind. So when we talk about letting go, the most urgent thing to let go of is not your phone, your old clothes, or your social circles. It is this comparing mind operating silently in the depths of your heart for years. It is the root of all your exhaustion. In the year 638, a baby was born in southern China. His family fell into extreme poverty after his father died. He never went to school. He survived by chopping and selling firewood. He had never read a scripture, but he had a pair of sharp ears and an incredibly pure heart. One day, while selling wood in the market, he heard someone reciting the Diamond Sutra. One specific line hit his mind like a lightning bolt. It said, "Let your mind flow freely without attaching to anything." In that instant, the mental fog he had carried his whole life vanished. He realized the mind should not get stuck on a single thought, a single status, or a single ego image. Only by not clinging can true wisdom. He eventually traveled a long way to find the fifth Zen Patriarch, Master Hongren. The master asked him, "Where are you from and what do you want?" Huineng replied, "I am a commoner from the south, and I come here only to become a Buddha, nothing else." He did not ask for money, fame, or magical powers. He only wanted to see his true nature. The master sent him to work in the kitchen, pounding rice. Huineng did not complain. He pounded rice in silence, and day by day his mind grew clearer and more still. Meanwhile, a famous succession contest was happening. The master asked his disciples to write a poem proving their spiritual awakening. The most respected senior monk Shengshu wrote this: "The body is the Bodhi tree. The mind is like a clear mirror. Always wipe it clean and do not let the dust gather." Everyone praised this poem, but the master knew Shengshu had not seen the ultimate truth. Why? Because Shengshu's poem still had an ego. It still had a framework of me trying to get better, me trying to keep my mirror clean. As long as you are comparing your current messy self with an ideal clean self, you are still trapped in comparison. Huineng heard the poem. Being illiterate, he asked someone to write his response on the wall. It read originally, "There is no tree, nor is there a clear mirror." Originally, there is not a single thing, so where can the dust gather? These words shattered Shengshu's entire framework. If there is no fixed ego to be polluted, where does the dust come from? If there is no ego that needs to be kept clean, why constantly wipe it? This is the profound wisdom of emptiness. Huineng pointed directly to the truth. Your true nature is already pure. You do not need to accumulate merits to beat someone else. You just need to drop the comparison and return to the pure state where originally there is not a single thing. The master secretly passed the lineage to Huineng that very night. Huineng's greatness lies in he did not try to replace his old self with a better self. He realized the self was an illusion all along. In Shengshu's world, spiritual practice is a path of comparison. I must be better today than I was yesterday. But in Huineng's world, practice is a path of return. You do not become better. You simply return to the perfection you already have. Let us break down true detachment. First, cut off unrealistic illusions. Illusions are thoughts born from fear and comparison. The thought that says, if I just beat them, I will find peace. Watch these thoughts gently. Where do they come from? Are they driven by true passion or by envy? Once you see clearly, gently. In Buddhism, this means practicing equanimity, a profound equality of heart. You stop favoring and you stop hating. You let go of relationships that no longer nourish you. You let go of the results you cannot control. You let go of the label that says, I am better than them, or I am worse than them. Letting go is not losing. It is gaining infinite space. Third, leave the trap of comparison behind. This means reaching true freedom. You are no longer enslaved by what others think. Whether you gain or lose, your inner world remains completely calm and undisturbed. Think about why schools make children wear uniforms. On the surface, it is for neatness, but deeply, it completely eliminates the dimension of clothing comparison. No one can show off their wealth, and no one feels inferior. By removing the outward difference, the fuel for jealousy disappears. When jealousy fades, your mental exhaustion vanishes, and that precious energy can finally flow toward what truly matters. There is a beautiful Zen story about tea. A dry tea leaf has its own shape and texture, but when it is dropped into boiling water, it surrenders. It lets go of its shape and merges completely with the water to become tea. If the leaf refused to change and clung to its shape, it would just remain a dry leaf forever. Our mind is like that dry tea leaf. Clinging to our ego, clinging to the need to be better than others, keeps us rigid. True freedom only comes when we are willing to surrender that comparing self and merge with the flow of the universe. Years later, when Huineng finally began teaching, he shared his moment of ultimate awakening. He cried out in joy, "How could I have expected that the self-nature is originally pure? How could I have expected that it is perfectly complete, lacking?" He realized the completeness you are desperately searching for out there is already inside you. You do not need to win against anyone to have it. You do not need to prove it to anyone. It is just that you have been staring at the ruler of comparison for so long, you forgot to look at your own true face. This brings us to a powerful daily practice, reverse introspection. We are so good at looking outward. We clearly see the flaws, the successes, and the mistakes of others. But we are completely blind to ourselves. We do not see our own arrogance, our own jealousy, or our own fear. Huineng taught us to constantly watch our own inner faults and ignore the rights and wrongs of others. When you focus your attention entirely on your own mind, you no longer have the energy to judge anyone else. You realize you have enough work to do right inside your own heart. Next is the practice of sympathetic joy. This is the ultimate cure for jealousy. When someone else achieves something, train your heart to feel genuine happiness for them. Treat their success as your own. Every time you truly rejoice for someone else, you rewire your brain. You replace the threat of comparison with the abundance of shared joy. Start small. Silently say to a coworker, "Great job. I am happy for you." Say to a stranger on the street, "I hope you have a beautiful day." Slowly, this seed of joy will grow into a massive tree, and jealousy will simply find no soil to survive in. Finally, bring your practice into the present moment. Living Zen is not sitting in a temple. It is cooking, washing dishes, commuting, and working. In a busy subway station, imagine someone walking through the crowd carrying a bowl full of water to the brim. They have to walk slowly. They have to be completely focused. They cannot worry about yesterday or tomorrow because all their attention is anchored on this very step. This very bowl, your life is that bowl of water. When you pour your entire soul into the present moment, the noise of comparison simply fades away. I want you to stop for a moment right now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and slowly, slowly breathe out. In that tiny space between your breaths, did you feel that stillness? That moment with no comparison, no anxiety, no burden? The meaning of your life is not determined by how you measure up against someone else. A great modern monk wrote 4 words before he passed. The moon in the heart is perfectly round. That moon is not far away in the sky. It is inside you, perfect, bright, and totally free. It has never left you. All you have to do is stop staring at everyone. When you drop the ruler of comparison, the clouds will part and your light will naturally shine. Thank you so much for walking this path with us today at Sacred Dharma. If this message brought peace to your mind, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so we can continue this journey together. I would love to hear from you. How do you deal with the trap of comparison? And drop your thoughts in the comments below. Every comment is a shared moment of healing for someone else reading. May you let go of the heavy burdens you carry. May you find true peace, and may you live beautifully and freely in the present moment.